It was an early morning at the lake, the mist curling gently over the water like a thin veil, and my property lay bathed in soft sunlight. Everything seemed calm, too calm for what was about to unfold. Karen number 24 had decided that my lake cabin, the pride of our family's summer retreats, should be hers for her personal use. She had convinced herself that by assigning it to her child, she could claim some moral victory over me. What she didn't realize, however, was that she was about to confront boundaries far beyond her imagination. I had been inspecting the new perimeter fencing, a steel barrier designed to prevent unauthorized access to my property, when a loud commotion from the lake dock drew my attention. There it was, her child, gleefully unloading beach gear and tents onto the dock as if the cabin had suddenly become their own. Karen herself was shouting instructions, waving her arms, and gesturing toward the cabin as if her commands held any legitimacy. I stepped onto the dock, calm but firm, letting my presence be known. "Ma'am," I said evenly, holding up the deed to the property. "This is private property. You do not have permission to occupy, assign, or modify anything here. Your child is trespassing." Her face twisted with disbelief and fury. "I don't care. This is for my kid. We have rights. You can't just—" I cut her off calmly, walking closer with authority. "Actually, I can, and I have. Every inch of this property is legally mine. You will remove yourselves immediately, or I will involve law enforcement." Her child looked confused, caught between loyalty to their mother and the clear authority radiating from me. Karen, however, was undeterred, believing that she could outmaneuver the law with bluster and entitlement. That's when I revealed the second layer of my preparation. The strategic placement of new fencing, a barrier that physically prevented her company, or anyone she sent, from leaving my property without passing through a checkpoint controlled by me. I pointed toward the new steel fence, reinforced and locked, stretching from the cabin down to the lakeshore and across the property line. "If you step further, you're trapped," I said evenly. "Every exit is monitored. Any attempt to bypass it will be treated as trespassing, and local authorities have been notified." For the first time, Karen hesitated. Her bravado faltered when she realized that her plan had a critical flaw. She had no control over the property, the cabin, or even the pathways to leave the lake. Her child, standing on the dock, looked at her with wide eyes, suddenly understanding that this adventure had consequences beyond their imagination. The situation escalated when one of her associates tried to climb the steel fence, thinking to bypass the barrier. My son, stationed at the perimeter with a camera system, alerted me immediately. I walked down with calm precision, motioning with my hand and issuing a single verbal command, "Step down now." The intruder froze, then complied. By this point, neighbors had begun to gather discreetly, observing the standoff. Karen's shouts had drawn attention, and whispers spread about the audacity of her actions and the calm authority of the landowner. I allowed her a final chance. Leave voluntarily or face consequences. Faced with undeniable physical and legal control, Karen backed down. Her child reluctantly stepped back from the cabin, and she muttered threats about lawyers and HOA rights that now rang hollow. I calmly documented the entire encounter with my cameras, capturing her retreat and every word she uttered for future legal protection. By midday, the property was quiet again, the lake reflecting the sun in brilliant golden hues. The cabin remained firmly under my control, and the lesson was clear. Entitlement and arrogance cannot override preparation, authority, and law. My family could finally relax, knowing that the cabin, the dock, and the surrounding property were secure. Karen number 24 had underestimated the combination of legal authority, strategic planning, and calm enforcement. She had discovered, painfully, that attempting to assign ownership or control over another's property without consent would only lead to humiliation, legal consequences, and a clear demonstration of power. Later, I walked along the perimeter, checking the fencing and cameras one more time. The lake shimmered peacefully, reflecting the mountains and trees. My family joined me, smiling, relieved that yet another HOA intrusion had been neutralized without escalation into violence. The property had not only survived an attempted takeover but had sent a clear message to anyone who thought they could manipulate the rules, bully, or intimidate. Here, law, preparation, and authority are absolute. And somewhere in her mansion, Karen number 24 was undoubtedly replaying the morning repeatedly, understanding for the first time that her actions had consequences far beyond her imagination, and that my property, my family, and my authority were untouchable.